Good evening. Good evening and welcome to Pacific Lutheran University and the Wang Center's Fifth International Symposium, Our Thirsty World. My name is Neil Sabania. I'm the Executive Director of the Wang Center for Global Education. We are really excited to be in this great hall tonight and to hear the first of our symposium's keynote speakers. The Wang Center, for those of you who do not know, opened in 2002 thanks to the vision of the donors, Drs. Peter and Grace Wang. With their generous philanthropy, the Wangs have greatly assisted PLU to emphasize the role that education can, and I would say must play, in building a more peaceful and just world. And our symposia are part of that process. I want to begin this evening by thanking, in addition to Peter and Grace Wang, our partners who've helped to make this event possible. If you perhaps noticed when you came in on the screen that was over here on my left, were the names of those folks, but I want to mention them to you again because of our great appreciation for what they've done. I want to begin with Yinka Shinabare and the Stephen Friedman Gallery in London for allowing us to use the image of Yinka's nearly life-size headless man trying to drink that is on your program. And we've used that to bring attention to this year's symposium. We also want to thank the Benson Foundation, the Port of Tacoma, the wonderful collaboration we've had this year with the Scandinavian Cultural Center that's running some programs alongside of the symposium, and you'll find that information in your program. Also want to thank the Peace and Reconciliation section of Norway's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and our great friend Ambassador Tom Vraalsen, and our other great friends at the Tor Heyerdahl Institute for their generous cooperation and sponsorship, about which you'll hear a bit more shortly. What a gift clean water is, and how automatically we take it. That is, it's always there when we want it. You just turn on the tap. My first encounter with this not always being the case was as a college sophomore on study away in Yugoslavia. For those in the audience who don't know that, that once was a country. The tap was there, so was the water, but the advice was not to drink it. So what does one do? First, I learned to drink coffee, but that was Turkish coffee, which, as you know, wakes you up, but doesn't really quench a thirst. So then I learned to drink beer. How transforming study away can be. Then as a Peace Corps volunteer in Ethiopia, it became almost normal that the water from the tap first needed to be boiled and then put through a water filter, and we washed our vegetables in Tide. Doesn't everyone? But in each of these experiences, the water still came out of a tap. Then living and working among the peoples of northern Kenya, whose existence is dependent on herding of animals and finding water and grazing for them, the tap disappeared as well. And I learned firsthand the lesson of how truly precious water is. Here my water came, for a period of 18 months, I might add, from hand-dug wells in sand riverbeds, where women walk 3 or 4 miles in order to collect that water. And what they did is they filled a 5-gallon jerry can, which, if I left it overnight, allowed the silt and sand to settle into it. And then I had perhaps 3 gallons of water left, from which I could boil it on precious firewood, very scarce. And at 90-degree temperatures, one kind of needs something more than just 3 gallons a day. I will also add that this was certainly water that was too valuable for shaving. Today, in this same area, from the South Sudan and northern Kenya and northern Uganda, across northern Kenya into Somalia and across Ethiopia, water scarcity, coupled with extreme shifts in weather patterns, is inflaming and escalating once local conflicts into clashes with international implications. But you say, ah yes, that's over there. There is someplace else, it's not here. But this situation is not unique to Africa. Similar challenges are faced across Asia, in Latin America, the Caribbean, Australia, Europe, and yes, even here. And as if it is being now said, 2/3 of the world's population will face moderate to severe water scarcity by 2025, which is only 12 years away, when most of the PLU students in the room will be in their early 30s. How long can we continue to think we are immune from the challenges and all the challenges that poses for us? Welcome to our thirsty planet. We could stand here all day and quote fascinating and thought-provoking statistics about water. Yet water is part and parcel of a much bigger cycle of life, intimately connected to the challenge associated and posed by the environment, climate change, biodiversity, clean energy, green living, and so forth. Over the course of this evening and tomorrow, and through internationally known keynote speakers and wonderfully knowledgeable session presenters, we have an opportunity to examine the complexity of water from global, local, regional, and national perspectives. You will hear not only about the challenges, but also about some solutions and successes, with an opportunity to consider what role you might want to play in taking nature and our planet seriously. Let me offer you one quick logistical note. During the keynote address tonight, we ask that you please refrain from any flash photography. If you haven't done so, that you turn your cell phone off. And there's no need for you to record it because the address will be available in the next couple of days on the PLU website off the Wang Center. Now it's my privilege to introduce Loren Anderson. In his 20th year as president of Pacific Lutheran University, he has led our transformation into a university where global education is truly a central focus of all we are and what we do. Please join me in welcoming President Anderson.
Well, thank you, Neil, and good evening, everyone. It's a great privilege to welcome you to this 2012 version of the Wang Center Symposium on Global Issues. And we're delighted you're here and hope you stick around for what promises to be the next 24 hours plus of absolutely outstanding programming and stimulating discussion and conversation. It takes a village to mount a symposium. And the mayor of this symposium village is named Peter Wang, class of '60, Concordia College, and his beautiful wife, Grace. It was on September 20th, 2001, 9 days after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, that I was privileged to travel to Pebble Beach and sit down with Peter and Grace. They said, "We've given blood. We sent a donation. Now we need to do something really significant. We want to establish a center that will help you educate a new generation of leaders, smarter about the world, more experienced, more committed, a generation that maybe can avoid future 9/11s. They said, "How much would it take to do that?" We said $4 million. They said, "We will do it." Hence was born the Wang Center for Global Education at Pacific Lutheran University. 5 years later, we would be recognized as the first American college and university to have faculty and students on all 7 continents at the same time. 8 years later, we would be the first private university in the Western United States to receive the coveted Senator Paul Simon Award for Globalization. Such is the power of the dream that Peter and Grace founded and helped inspire. But there was another part to their dream. A part of their dream was that this campus right here where we're gathered tonight, could become a kind of center where truly some of the most important and challenging and vexing and possibility-filled conversations about the future of the global village might occur. And that those conversations would be local, involving everybody in this community, in this Puget Sound region, but also that each of those conversations would be global, and that they would bring together the experts and the perspectives from around the globe. And out of those conversations might come new hope and possibility for our world. Peter and Grace don't travel as easily as they once did, and so they're not able to be here tonight. But I think it would be appropriate if we paused for a moment and expressed our appreciation to Peter and Grace Wang for the vision that brings us together 11 years later. So where have we been? We started in late 2001 and established the center, and 2 years later we found ourselves coming together to talk about China and the role of China. We called it Bridges for a New Century. And 2 years later it was Pathways to Peace, a discussion about Norway's approach to democracy and development. And then we moved on 2 years later to talk about advances in global health and the role of non-governmental organizations. And finally, 2 years ago, when the Olympics were being held in Vancouver, British Columbia, we gathered and talked about understanding the world through the metaphor and the reality of sports and recreation. And now we gather to talk about the subject which Neil introduced so eloquently: water and our thirsty planet. I hope as you hear the conversation and discussion, you will be sensitive to the village it took to put this program together. The key participants in that village are listed in the back of the program. And I hope you will have an opportunity to thank the program leaders and those presenters who are gathered. I mentioned that Peter and Grace envisioned a global conversation in this local context. And so last night we had a group of the presenters at our house, and it was quite wonderful because we had represented the countries of India and the country of Namibia and the country of Trinidad. And we anticipated the arrival of the voice of Canada that we will hear tonight, as well as a number of our local presenters. It's a global conversation we need to have in a local setting about an issue that affects us all. As we work to build a globally focused university, we are continuing to discover new partners that we can work with internationally. They are partners that make what happens here possible. They give richness to our programs, and they create opportunities abroad. And one of our newest partners is the Thor Heyerdahl Institute of Larvik, Norway, an institute established to recognize and celebrate and extend and understand the legacy of the great Nordic explorer Thor Heyerdahl. And so we have a wonderful delegation from the Institute who are with us, and we hope their presence here is a first step in what will be a continuing relationship between the Institute and Pacific Lutheran University. And it's my pleasure at this time to call upon the chair of the board of the Institute, Mr. Knut Peel, who will come forward for the purpose of saying a few words about the Institute and about their role in this year's symposium. Welcome, one and all. We're delighted that you're here. Have a great time.